Muses. Welcome to Smart Muses, where we talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Today we're talking about something that makes me so happy, but of course quite sad because it is so moving. It is Boromir, son of Gondor, and his role in the books, The Fellowship of the Ring, well, and the Two Towers, because they carried it over. In the in the books, it was the movie which ended with Boromir's death. But that is all we're going to talk about the movie today, because it's strictly Boromir in the books. Maybe at the end I may loosen my lovely hold of my pedaled hold and allow some discussion of the movies, but we really, really want to focus on the books. And once more, to talk with someone that will be 2,000 years in his future, it is none other than Feanor, the Alpha Chad from the Great Beyond.
What is going on? We're here. We're ready. I'm ready. Sort of. I'm actually really exhausted, but I'm here and I'm ready. So let's do this. I'm
me
happy.
Too. I don't have any brain cells right now because I've been dog sitting, and I swear I used to teach daycare when I was in college. It's like having a 2-year-old.
Right.
It is insane. And of course, I'm still recovering from daylight savings time ridiculousness.
I think that's what's kicking my butt too. Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's can we just not anymore? Like, I had somebody tell me the other day, they're like, we need to set up like farmer time. Like the farmers can have their own time and they can call it daylight savings time, whatever. But the rest of us who are not farmers, can we please stop doing
Yes, please. Springing forward is what gets you, because yay, we get to sleep in a little bit. No one ever, it doesn't mess you up, but springing back, but springing forward, where you lose an hour and you get up extra early, and it affects more sunlight in the evening. And that's the other thing.
Mhm.
You get more sunlight in the evening than you're used to, and that then messes you up. So yeah,
Right.
we hate that here. So combine the time change along with a Chihuahua Pomeranian mix that I'm
Oof.
babysitting this week. It's my butt's been kicked too, but I am so happy to be here because, of course, it's never a chore to talk about Tolkien, anything Tolkien, and anything Lord of the Rings, the
Mhm.
author of the century. Now, before we get moving into that party, we have Corey Cochran. Hello, thank you for being here. Always great to see you. And Snortopoopas Kruber. We love our animals here at Miss Martin Mutant Muses. Hello, humans and other critters. Yeah, you're going to get your 24/7 sunlight soon out on your iceberg up there in the north. Oh, that's me. Yeah, we were set up. Yeah, it's like, hi, y'all, just a minute. Yes.
Hi, hello, me.
We have some extra pictures. Hello, it is Shane Nolan, also from the future. Wow, it's middle of the night for you, pal. Let's see. See, 8 plus, yeah, middle of the night. Hello, it is Michael's Asylum. And everyone is saying hello to each other because we all are friendly people. Oh, hail to the king. Yes, hail, High King Feanor.
Hail to you, Shane. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, that's the only time I'll accept the word hail, when I have a king or a queen on my channel. And there are books. Oh, don't even.
There are yes,
Yes.
several. I think two. Let me
Well,
just
it
get this.
depends.
Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, they uh, whether or not the Lord of the Rings is 3 books or 1 book. To me,
Right,
I tend to go with the one. I mean, it is one big work with several books
right.
within it, but
Yes.
it was published as a trilogy of books.
Well, see, here's where my thing is. Before we get started on Boromir, I've so I always call it just the universe of Arda, because Arda is the world in which it takes place.
Mhm.
But the I hear people reference Tolkien stories as the Lord of the Rings, or stories in Middle Earth, or simply just Tolkien's work. It's described as many different things. Like
Mhm.
people just use a name to describe it. Um, but yeah, it's just like, what do what is the official? Because like obviously there's the Star Wars universe, the Marvel universe. What is it? The Tolkien universe? Should that be the proper name going forward? Should we declare it as such, just the Tolkien universe?
Now, I say we go with the way Tolkien would call it, the Legendarium.
Yes, true.
Tolkien's Legendarium, that's what I call it.
Yeah, that's
So it's not comparable to other things. It really makes me mad when people call it a franchise. It is not a
yeah,
franchise.
it is not a franchise. No, 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 no.
Like,
It is a oh, Tolkien's
yes, Sword of
Legendarium. Yeah,
Poopas came
yeah,
in. Yes, Tolkien's
yeah,
Legendarium. Yes.
yeah, yeah. It's one of those. It goes by many names.
Mhm.
But yeah, the Legendarium. Yeah, I concur with the sentiment here.
Yeah,
Um,
Shane Nolan, and it's not a franchise.
yes,
Well,
it's
and
not a franchise.
'cause it's like a whole mythology that he created, and even though people are trying to tell us now, "No, he didn't want a mythology." It's like, yeah,
Bullshit.
I guess he was confused when he said that,
Right.
mythology, and his son when he said it. Yeah.
Real
Yeah, it's
quick,
not a
just to be sure, I'm just making sure my audio levels are coming through okay.
oh, it sounds fine to me. Yeah,
Sounds
chat,
good
let
to you?
us know.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the, like, legendarium, now I'm feeling very self-conscious about my Latin here. But I will argue that you can say legendarium because we're English speakers, so we're allowed to not be in the purest of languages. So,
Right, we
yes,
can butcher it. Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, sounds fine. Yes, it precisely. I had a debate about, the proper way of saying Anno Domini, and well, that's another story for another day. We're not here to talk about Latin, but we are
Anno
here.
Domini.
Well, don't get me started on common time. And I love it. Pope Benedict XVI, he had said, okay, you want to call it common time?
Right,
What's the marker? It's like, what are we basing it around? Hello.
right.
Yeah, sort of Poopas Cruber says the only franchise was Samwise's Potato Palace, the best place for fish and chips in the Shire. I endorse that headcanon
That's right.
right there. That's 2 thumbs up.
Right.
Absolutely. Lady T, hail, yes. Oh, yes, Lady T. She bases her name on Lady Toriel, and of course, we know that Lady Toriel is kind of not real, but our Lady Toriel is real, and she is awesome, and she is hailing her elven father or grandfather, or I, his descendants
No?
obviously do not go to Lady Toriel, but Lady
No.
Toriel's not real. So that's the other thing. Remember, Peter Jackson isn't God out there, people. Singing
Right.
or saying, good point. Good point,
Mhm.
Shane, because it is a slightly different when you sing in Latin. Michael Silent said, Sam is the real savior of Middle Earth. Yes, and the hero of the work. But let's go ahead and. Oh, you know what? I wanted to start with this. Oh, not that picture. This picture. Here we go.
Yes.
This was a picture that the High King sent of Boromir, and this is gorgeous. I think now that I'm thinking about it, you put that on the Twitter.
I did. I did. Yeah.
Yes, look at that. Isn't that a
Yep.
great picture of him?
I put that as kind of a hint as to what we were talking about without saying it. I was like, yeah, let's see if anybody gets it. But
Yeah.
yeah. But the art, if anybody in the chat is interested, I always encourage people to go show love to artists because there's so many great Tolkien artists out there.
Mhm.
The artist for this one, her name is Yidon Wan on Instagram. She's on Instagram and DeviantArt. I know she has a Twitter that she doesn't use. I think she just created it, so maybe it's just like slow on the uptick. But yeah, Yadan or Yuan, Yidon Wan. Go check
Mhm.
her out because she is fantastic. She does Silmarillion stuff, Lord of the Rings, you name it. She's all
Mm.
about Tolkien. So
Great. Now that you mention it, so if she's on those, she sells prints then, I'm assuming?
I don't think she does, and I don't
Oh.
think there's really good. You're not going to have very much luck finding people that sell Tolkien related prints unless they are greenlit by the Tolkien estate themselves. You got to be very very careful about that. Artists
Oh,
do,
okay.
so they can create the art and like have it on their social media and what have you, and like draw a lot of audience obviously because it's fantastic art, but they can't sell it because the Tolkien estate will get hyphy
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
And I can understand that. If I owned the rights to the Lord of the Rings, I think I would be ruling with an iron fist too. You would see from
I
Galadriel, you would have a queen.
well,
Terrible. All will
he,
fear me and all will love me if I owned the rights to Lord of the Rings. Why it's Sporking News podcast. Hello. Yes, we love
well,
um
here's
Tolkien
the
here.
thing about that. Here's the thing about that. So I am actually in the opposite camp when it comes to artists specifically, and the
Mhm,
reason why is because Tolkien always loved receiving commentary and art regarding his works. So I
mhm.
think if he was alive today, he would like embrace all of the art. He wouldn't like stamp a heavy copyright on it and try and get everybody knocked off for trying to sell art. I just don't see that happening. I think he'd want to like promote it more and like have everybody's kind of vision of his world out there, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, you kind of make a good point because you look at things like Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice and stuff. You don't have to
Hmm.
get permission to draw Mr. Darcy.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
and like, yeah, look, everyone's saying hi to each other. Yeah, I was
right.
just mentioning working about all Fire and Blood, where my brain cells are half gone because it was really intense. We were looking at a fake alternative history, but
Hmm.
what we're looking at today is, well, no, Boromir is completely true and real. At least he is real to
Yes,
me. For sure, his
right.
brother is. Yeah, but
Oh,
the I.
oh, yeah. You're a Faramir simp. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm beyond a simp. I am beyond a simp. Book Faramir and of course movie one, because I am very well aware that David Wenham does not look like the way he's described in the book, and I
Hmm.
don't care. And that's all I have to say about that. And
Right.
I love it. Love me some Faramir. But Boromir, this iconic picture, that's what makes this picture so cool. Him blowing the horn of Gondor
Hmm.
is just so intense. It
Well,
might have been oh, sorry,
oh,
go ahead.
no, 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 no. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go, you go first. You go first.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say there were he blew it more in the books. I'm sorry, but I understand why they didn't do as much in the movies.
Hmm.
And whoops, I'm not supposed to talk about the movies, but like he blew it when the Fellowship left, and they're like, "Dude, what are you blowing the horn for?" And he's like, "We're going off on a thing." And but the idea of them hearing the horn blowing when he's defending the hobbits, it's just like, oh
Yep.
gosh.
Well, and the cool thing about this image in particular that I really, really love is the fact of you don't get a lot of Boromir on a horse. And I think why that's very important is because a lot of the Rohirrim looked up to Boromir as kind of a captain. Even
Hmm.
Eomer sings his praises like crazy.
Hmm.
And so it's nice to kind of have that him not necessarily in the culture of the Rohirrim per se, but definitely him on horseback is like an aesthetic that I can get behind, given how much he's revered by the men of Rohan. Um,
Mm,
I really think it's a really excellent choice for just the image itself, and then of course, like you said, him blowing the horns, like,
yeah.
it's just so great. Um,
And the symbolism of it being broken.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's our man. Now, when we first see Boromir in the books, he was
Hmm.
heading out. And that's what's in this picture. He had a
Hmm.
dream. Actually, Faramir had the dream a lot, and I think Boromir only had the dream once, but they
Yes.
shared a dream. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
It was once to Boromir, thrice to Faramir.
mhm. Yeah. And maybe tell us a little bit about that dream.
So if I recall correctly, again, I apologize. I'm on like 5 hours of sleep and 17,
Mhm.
17 days straight of work. But the dream was essentially telling uh Boromir that um to go to Imladris, to go to Rivendell.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, I have the book right here in front of me. I can just
Yeah,
pull it
I was
up.
gonna say I have the little poem or something. He says,
Yeah.
"I heard a voice, remote but clear, crying, 'Seek for the sword that was broken. In Imladris it dwells.
Hmm.
Shall
Yes.
be counsels taken, stronger than Morgul's spells. There shall be shown a token that doom is near at hand. For Isildur's bane shall waken, and the halfling forth shall stand."
Yes. And what's interesting about this, there's nothing definitive, to my knowledge, regarding this theory. But so the theory goes is that it was actually the Vala Olmo that was sending Faramir and Boromir those dreams, because he often does come to people in their dreams. He did it with, I believe, Tour of Gondolin. Um, he would come in their dreams and give them messages like,
Mhm.
go and seek this, you need to go and visit this, you need to speak with this person, so on and so on. And so even though at this point in Middle Earth's history, Valinor and Middle Earth are very much separated, or Valinor and Arda, I should say, are very much separated. They're in two like different places cosmically. That the Valar still have influence
Mhm.
within
Yeah.
the mortal plane, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yes. Shippey wrote a lot about that.
Yeah.
I remember studying. That was where I heard it first, actually. Yeah,
Really?
about that. That
Really?
where. Well, yes, he was analyzing it. He didn't necessarily say it was that particular one, but that he talked, I think, a little bit about the scholarship and the idea that these were things that were dreams being sent from the Valor, from the beyond, and it makes perfect sense because there were also other supernatural moments, calling on Frodo, calling on Elabeth, Elbereth. Gosh, this
Elbereth,
is what
yeah.
happens when daylight savings time happens, and
It's
Sam.
got us all messed up.
Yeah, and when they start speaking in tongues, for lack of a better word, because
Right.
Frodo doesn't know that language, and
Mhm.
neither that, and they all start going blah 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 blah. So it's pretty cool. And in that dream, also it says, I thought the eastern sky drew dark, and there was a growing thunder, but in the west a pale light lingered." And then that was where the voice comes.
Mhm.
So this idea of doom and gloom coming, it was not just from his battles and things, it was also this dream.
Yep.
And he
And
also
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, he also talks about just how awful it was when Mordor sudden war came upon us out of Mordor, and and then a power was there that we had not felt before, a great black horseman, a dark shadow under the moon. Whenever he came, a madness filled our foes, but fear fell on our boldest, so that horse and man gave away and fled. Only a remnant of our eastern force came back, destroying the last bridge that stood amidst the ruins of Osgiliath. And then check this out. I was the company, because I'm perfect. Oh no, you're second perfect. Farum is most perfect. I was a company that held the bridge until it was cast down behind us. 4 only were saved by swimming. My brother, the perfect, and myself, and 2 others.
Mhm.
So this is horrible. And they're
Yeah.
swimming in, I guess, their armor and stuff. Drowning is a real thing, but we fight on, holding all the west shores of Anduin.
Yep. And
We
just to put into context that effort, swimming across the Anduin is pretty much the equivalent of like swimming across the Mississippi. Like the Anduin is
Mhm.
not a small river, and they're in full armor, and
Yeah,
and they're trying to swim across this thing.
yeah.
Um
And the terror that came upon them, and only 4 of them.
mhm,
And it also shows, yeah, that Boromir's a badass, and so is his brother,
mhm.
and whoever those 2 others were. May you rest in peace. Or
I
eventually, I don't know whatever happened to them,
I
but
don't think it ever states their names or what happened to them.
no.
No.
So maybe they're still alive, and they're going,
Right.
"Why didn't everyone talk about us? Everyone just wants to talk about Boromir and Faramir." And when he comes, he's like, "I'm here to ask for counsel
Mhm.
about all of this," and then he talks about the dream. So I put the card a little bit before the horse here, and check this out. Much praise comes to us, but little help. Only from
Mhm.
Rohan now will any men ride to us when we call. So that will put you in a state of despair. And I think that everyone can relate to when people are praising you left and right. Oh, you're the greatest, you're the greatest. But when you need help, they're like, oh man, I'm busy. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah,
sorry, 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 Ms. Tirith.
he's very critical of Aragorn in here, where he says, when he's talking about defending Gondor, he says, "Yet we were hard pressed, and the sword of Elendil would be a help beyond our hope, if such a
Mhm.
thing could indeed return out of the shadows of the past." And he looked again at Aragorn, and doubt was in his eyes. And then
Mhm.
Bilbo proceeded to tell him off among
Yeah.
people. Um, um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's he does he in the books he is so desperate to defend Gondor. Like he's willing to do pretty much anything to try and
Yeah.
save it. And then he's seeing all these great. Yeah, I imagine being in his shoes. You get this dream. It's kind of like an omen. So you go to Rivendell and you see all these great lords, and you're probably Boromir's probably thinking to himself, where, like you kind of what you were saying, where the hell were all you guys? Like
Yeah.
we've been getting like Mordor's just been coming after us, and you guys have not been anywhere. We haven't. There's been no help. It, ugh, that'd be a
Yeah.
terrible state to be in.
Yeah. And that assists in understanding why he's so tempted to use the ring
Mhm.
when he falters. But I'm
Yeah.
glad you also brought up a little bit about with him and Aragorn. There
Yep.
was some doubt with
Yes.
Boromir, but there wasn't the animosity. I don't get that
No.
sense from the book. There was more
Yeah.
camaraderie.
Well, well, in the other thing too was I do appreciate how Aragorn kind of responded to him by saying like, listen, I know I don't resemble Elendil and Isildur as they are in the halls of your father, um, but I'm the heir of Isildur. I'm not Isildur himself. Like um,
Yeah. Yeah, he was understanding. It wasn't like they were having a pissing contest. And the whole point of them going on the fellowship tour, it wasn't that they were going to go all the way to Gondor.
yeah,
Aragorn was going to go with Boromir to Minas Tirith. It's like we're going to go this far, and then I'm going to go home. So Aragorn was coming. He didn't need to be convinced or anything like that.
right.
So they were going to go as brothers to, well, relatively as brothers to Minas Tirith. That was the goal.
Right. Oh, real quick. I just noticed her in the chat. Hi, Mags.
Yay, Max.
Mags is here. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gotta say hi to Mags.
Oh no, no,
She's
that's quite all right.
great.
She's going to be with us to me tomorrow night, Catholic Explaining Lent.
Ooh, sweet.
Yeah, Salty Traveling says, "Woo, hello and woohoo." Teresa's boyfriend's brother. You see, you know, and you understand. You understand. I'm going to put this out on Twitter. I got a little treat for myself. I got a
Oh.
Faramir uh, cushion for my couch.
Oh, gee. Wait. Are we talking body pillow? Are we?
No, we're talking a
What we
cushion.
got
You
going
know, like
on
those ones your grandma used to have, those little squares. No, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
anything even close to that. And it's. But I saw it. I'm like, I've got to get this. I
What
must
what are
have
those?
this.
What are those called? The Dakimakura? Faramir Dakimakura. Oh man. If I
Oh,
ever find that, I'm gonna send you the link.
okay. Oh, look, everyone's saying hi. Oh, Megan Tex is saying hi too. Yes. So but there's just such a pride of Gondor. Thank you, a throw pillow. That's
Mhm.
what the word I was
Throw
thinking of.
pillow, yes. Hmm.
Yeah, and the beauty of Gondor and his love for his home.
Hmm.
It's just so beautiful. Oh,
Oh yeah.
thank you, Snorted Poopus. This is very generous. If I was human, I'd let you land Faramir and I'd take Eowyn. Yeah, we'll split them between us. So, yeah. But also in this council, we get a description, a physical description of
Hmm.
Boromir. Oh, look, here's this art. This I like this of the council, and they've got the
Mm.
sword and all the elves and the dwarves. And seated a little apart was a tall man with a fair and noble face, dark haired and gray eyed, proud and stern of glance. He was cloaked and booted as if for a journey on horseback. And indeed, though his garments were rich and his cloak was lined with fur, they were stained with long travel. He had a collar of silver in which a single white stone was set. His locks were shorn about his shoulders. On a baldric he wore a great horn tipped with silver that now was laid upon his knees. He gazed at Frodo and Bilbo with sudden wonder. That's our
Hmm.
man.
A little bit of more backstory though is I forget what happened to his horse, but something happened to his horse like midway through his journey to Rivendell, and he ended up having to hoof it the rest of the way.
Hmm.
He ended up having to walk.
Yeah.
Like, which I mean, that's I mean, test of endurance, I guess. But the reason why his garments were weathered was because of that. Um,
Hmm.
did his horse get killed, or I don't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Yeah. 100 Days of Walking. I believe you are
100 Days of
correct.
Walking, yeah.
So he didn't come on a feather bed or the
No,
Orient Express.
no, and it's another thing that kind of makes you feel bad because it's just that is kind of indicative of Boromir's whole life. It's just
Mhm.
hard. It's incredibly hard. He doesn't really get any breaks. Um, and
And
just
he
walk.
has it rested on his shoulder that he is
Yeah.
going to be the steward one day, and it will
Mhm.
literally be on his shoulders.
Yeah. And well, not only is he going to be the steward, but he's also he is the shield for Gondor at this point in
Mhm.
time when he encounters the Fellowship. That's his role. Um, because Denethor's old, Faramir, great, great character, but he's not the soldier Boromir is. To to
Mhm.
to really poorly describe it.
Yeah.
um,
No, I understand that
yeah.
even though he was great and had great feats and was doing what he was doing in Ithilien,
Hmm.
there's a certain oomph about Boromir.
Yeah.
And I think he would have been a good steward, to be honest. And it,
Well, it's kind of I was thinking about this while I was at work today because I was mentally preparing for this stream, and the thing with Boromir and Faramir is that it's a case of I don't want to say it's a reoccurring theme. It's a reoccurring theme within the Legendarium of brothers and tragic stories with brothers. I don't know
mhm,
what it is with Tolkien. I'll have to dig deep for this because there's probably something there. But whether it's Olwe and Elwë, if it's Feanor and Fingolfin, Huor and Hurin, even Elrond and Elros, because Elros chose the life of men and ended up passing away, and Elrond is just kind of left there without his brother and lingering in the world. And then you fast forward to Faramir and Boromir. There's always this tragic aspect with brothers in some regard. Um, and with Boromir, I find him not necessarily his relationship with his brother, but I find his story as a brother and to be the most tragic because his life is the biggest what if
mm,
to me in the entire saga of Middle Earth. What if he spoiler alert for those who don't know, Boromir died.
yeah,
What if he
I think everyone knows.
yeah, yeah. What if he what if he didn't die? How would he have been as a steward? What would the relationship between him because presumably he would have left with Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas to go on the hunt for the hobbits. Um, how would that relationship had looked post him trying to take the ring from Frodo? Or let's say he did get shot with arrows, but he survived. There's a whole bunch of different things. What would his relationship to Denethor be after he
Mm,
came back to Minas Tirith? Well, there's so many what ifs there. It's a shame we'll never get to know them because unfortunately, like I said, spoiler alert, he dies.
mhm, yeah,
And I find even though there's plenty of really tragic stories within the Legendarium, I find his to be the most tragic because of that what if factor, like the potential of something really great there that just
yeah.
never came to be.
Mhm. And I would assume that if it had turned out that he would have been the steward, that, Faramir would be, like, they're supporting him because especially you see in the 2 towers, that there was no enmity between them, that they
Oh
they
no, they
really
loved each
worked
other.
well together, and they
Yeah.
were very good yin and yang. So, he could have Faramir sitting there being Mr. Bookworm and
Hmm.
helping with some of that. I think that it would have been very nice, but
Right.
as we said, it didn't happen.
It
He
didn't
doesn't
happen.
stay with
No.
us.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, so off they go. I already talked about when he blows the horn
Hmm.
when they start off on their fellowship trip. And I think that's just so cool.
Right.
Like,
Well, it doesn't describe. Hold on, I'm looking for it. Let me see here. Do, 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 do. I'm looking for when they set off, because there's a funny line if I recall correctly. Um, where is it? Oh my goodness. But apparently, like when he blew the horn, it like echoed throughout the valley. Like there's something
yeah.
along those lines. I can't remember what it was. Company took little
Let me see.
gear.
I've got it here in my.
Oh man, dude. I know it's in the Ringo South chapter. I
Yeah.
apologize, by the way. I should have came more prepared for this.
No
Um,
worries. It's here in my note.
Gandalf.
Sword. Wait. And by the way, even though this is an Aragorn point, that
Mhm,
is when the sword was forged anew, and
mhm.
its blade was traced a device of 7 stars set between the crescent moon. Again, so they're more brothers. They're not having issues here, and they knew that he was ready to be the king and was going to return to Gondor. And it said something about their farewells. At the moment he came out with Gandalf.
Oh, here it is. Here I found it. I found it. I found it.
Okay.
Um, the company took a little gear of war for their hope and secrecy, not in battle. Blah 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 blah. Boromir had a long sword in fashion like Andúril, but of less lineage, and he bore also his shield and his war horn. Loud and clear it sounds in the valleys of the hills, he said, and then let all the foes of Gondor flee. Putting it to his lips, he blew a blast, and the echoes leapt from rock to rock, and all that heard that voice in Rivendell sprang to their feet. So he pretty much scared the hell
Ye-
out of everybody in
yes.
the valley.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
And then Elrond chastises him. He's like, "Slow should you be to win that horn again, Boromir?" uh, he says, until you stand once more on the borders of your land and dire need is on you, which is really kind of major foreshadowing. But no, I just love he just arbitrary. Yeah, we're setting off. Okay, I'm just gonna blow this really loud.
Yeah, and for everyone else, and it tells you that. So when he blows it at that great moment, it's the same thing. If it's something that made the elves go, "What
Yeah,
the hell?"
yeah. The elves are like, "Oh crap, what's going on?"
Yeah,
here?" Oh
yeah.
goodness. Mm.
Oh, great, great moment, and just kind of shows how he's cool. Now there is some banter actually between him and Gimli.
Hmm.
Not a lot, but every now and then you'll also find Boromir saying, "Yeah, we've got our sturdy dwarf."
Hmm.
It's just kind of cool, but and also I noticed looking over my notes here, almost every single time Boromir tries to suggest something,
Hmm.
everyone's all, nah. And he's like, no, let's go like
Yeah.
the Gap of Rohan. And like, nah. And he's like, we can't go over that mountain thing. Well, it'll be bad. And they're like, no, it won't. And then it was. And it's like, dude, no one
Yeah.
ever listens to him.
Right. And it's like, okay, you guys could have avoided, well, like one great example is they tried Caradros and that didn't work.
Mhm,
Which is why they ended up going through Moria. But you're right. And I think that's them constantly refusing his suggestions. Almost, I think it's another reason why the ring tempted him. I think it was finally he was at his wit's end with them constantly telling him like no. And
mhm,
he wanted to take there was probably something in the back of his mind, which obviously the ring exacerbated because of the temptation, but where he wanted to just take matters into his own hands. Um,
mhm.
you know, just thinking, because you reminded me, it's like, you're right. He got told no a lot, and a lot of it was unfair because he did have some genuinely good ideas that could
Yeah.
have avoided a lot of problems. But yeah, I actually think I pulled one up here.
Yeah. Well, and there's also a heroic moment in the book where when they're all freezing and he's like, listen, this is going to be the death of the halflings. And Frodo, like, is all covered in snow. I think at one point, and he's the one that gets him out. And it's like, dudes, these poor little hobbits. And
Mhm.
not just Merry and Pippin, there's a thing where he helps them, and then he goes forward with Aragorn. It's like, okay, we need to find a way out of here. Like they go to find a path and just trudges right through the snow
Mhm.
to try to help them because they
Well,
were freezing to death.
well, I also found this here. I shouldn't say found, but I just opened to a part in the chapter "The Ring Goes South," and where Boromir's talking about, he says, I was born under the shadow of the White Mountains, and I know something of journeys in high places. We shall meet bitter cold, if no worse, before we come down on the other side. It will not help us to keep so secret that we are frozen to death. When we leave
Mhm.
here, where there are still a few trees and bushes, each of us should carry some wood, as large as he can bear. Um, and there's there's a word they use to describe a bundle of wood, but I'm not going to say that because we're on YouTube and YouTube will get mad.
Mhm.
Um, but but it's but then Gandalf comes in. He's like, very well, but we must not use the wood, not unless it's a choice between fire and death. It's like,
Mhm.
come on.
Yeah, it's like,
Just
thank
trying to
you.
keep everybody warm.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. Well, I found the actual wording here. Boromir lifted Frodo out of the ground, out of a
Mm,
nest of snow.
yeah.
And so, I mean, so he was looking after him, and that's a very nurturing
Yeah.
moment for him. So looking after him, but yeah, I love Gandalf. Um, I do have another quote. Now, this is from the Two Towers,
Hmm.
but it's um. Oh no, no, brother. I decided this is not the one from the Two Towers I was thinking of. And this is where Boromir is giving some love to the men of Rohan when they're saying, like, "The men of Rohan suck," or something. He's like, "It
Hmm.
is a lie that comes from the enemy. I know the men of Rohan, true and valiant, our allies dwelling still in the lands we gave them long ago." And I think we
Hmm.
talked about some of the Rohan love, but I wanted to bring that up because,
Right.
um
I
and then
forget what.
later, Eeyore speaks well of him when they say he's dead. He's like, "Oh, man, he was awesome. He was our friend. He was our buddy." He tall and brilliant, all sorts of praise
Yeah.
heaped about him.
Now, with the was that when he was trying to convince them? Because my memory is a little fuzzy on this. That was the quote that we have up on screen right now.
Mhm.
That was him when he was trying to convince the Fellowship to take the Gap of Rohan, if I recall correctly, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe,
that's
yeah,
what I thought.
because 'cause they're like,
Yeah,
"No," and he's like, "No, that's a lie." It's
yeah,
no, in a way, he was wrong, but he was right because he's like, "No, no,
yeah.
the people of Rohan would not do that. I know them. They are true and valiant. They are our allies."
Hmm.
Uh, so I just wanted to give a little bit of Rohan love there when I put that together. Now, the first time that you see Boromir starting to be a little weird is actually when he gets to Lothlorien. But it struck me that when Gandalf is being attacked and stuff, Aragorn and Boromir both go to his assistance,
Yep,
and Boromir yells, "Gondor!" It
yep.
sounds a little silly, but it they didn't all just sit there and just glare at them. It was like they were going to help, and Boromir was right by Aragorn's side.
Yeah, that's when they were confronted with by the Balrog.
Yeah, they wanted to help
A-
them. Yeah, yeah,
and I mean, they, I mean, they wouldn't have stood a chance, but good
yeah.
on you, boys. Like,
But it shows that
yeah,
they again, they weren't passive, and that he was willing to lay down his life for him.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
It says here, because I got the Bridge of Khazad-dûm up here right now. This is after Gandalf fell. That even as Aragorn and Boromir came flying back, the rest of the bridge cracked and fell.
Yeah.
And then Boromir held up the rear guard of the Fellowship while Aragorn led the front.
Yeah.
But it's just,
Oh.
it's so good, isn't it?
Oh
It's
gosh.
just so
Yeah.
good. Oh man.
Yeah. And I found it now here when Gandalf is saying, "You shall not pass," or "You cannot pass," rather, is what he says in the book.
Yeah.
And it says, "With a bound, the Balrog leaped full upon the bridge. It whipped World and hissed. 'He cannot stand alone,' cried Aragorn suddenly, and ran back along the bridge. 'Elendil!' he shouted. 'I am with you, Gandalf!' And 'Gondor!' cried Boromir, and leaped after him." And then, we saw that where he's like, "Fly, you fools!"
Yeah, get out of here. What are you doing?
Yelling Elendil and
Well,
and Gondor.
This is in stark contrast to what Legolas did when he screamed, "I, a Balrog," and threw down his bow and covered his face.
Oh, yes. Yeah. A Balrog of Mordor.
Oh,
That's
but
the main
yeah, well, no, it says,
Yeah, that was in
hold on. Well, I gotta pull this out. I wailed Legolas, a Balrog has come. Gimli stared with wide eyes. Durin's bane, he cried, and letting his axe fall, he covered his face. Okay, so it was Gimli who let his axe fall. But Chad, Aragorn, and Boromir said, "Nah, we're gonna charge into this thing."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he wailed. It says Legolas wailed. A
Yeah.
Balrog has come.
Okay. To be fair, elves and Balrogs have a long history. So not that Legolas would know anything about that. He'd never seen a Balrog before. But no, it's a great. Tolkien did an excellent job with both Boromir and Aragorn and Faramir as well. The men characters of illustrating just how brave they were. Like in the Silmarillion, you have an aspect of, you have the Noldor, who are just mighty in and of themselves, just because that's how Eru kind of made them. So they got a bit of hacks there, where it's like they're brave for the most part, or they're noble, and they're very, very strong-willed, great in combat, blah blah blah. Men almost kind of have to earn that in a way, just kind of through their life and the struggles that they go through in their life. And Boromir and Aragorn are great examples of that. Just all the trials and tribulations they go through, to the point where they do have that mindset of, I don't care if it's a Balrog. But they had to earn that, and there's a lot of inspiration to take from that kind of character building, I think.
Yeah.
"This is my scene," cried Gandalf, annoyed at them for
Annoyed
trying
they're
to
trying to put him up. Yeah. Well, and so I think that the idea that men were, men as in men, capital MEN, were not portrayed well in something else. I am being careful here because I don't want to talk about it. But the great heroic people. So they show that even though you have a wizard, even though you have all of these supernatural elf beings, you still have, as you said, Aragorn and Boromir. But let's bring in the Rohan, Éomer, Éowyn, and Theoden. Just great moments and great inspirations. Hello, Gadfly Fiction.
Hey, Gadfly.
Yeah. So, and then how Aragorn took charge, and as you saw, that Boromir took the rear. Wait, that's never mind. Someone's gonna giggle about that. And then they end up in Lothlorien, and this is where I was go all over the place here, but this is what I was talking about earlier, when they get to Lothlorien, and that is when he starts to freak out. Now, do you think it's because he something about Galadriel? that kind of freaked him out, because after that, that's when he kind of starts muttering to himself, and
I
uh,
think he was already kind of with everything that had already transpired. So I'm going to relate this kind of to his father in a way. I'm going to use
mhm,
Denethor as an example. So Denethor in the books was not a raving lunatic. First of all, that's always bothered me. But he was a man who gradually, as time passed, especially after at first he had his wife die, and
mhm,
he's also been combating Sauron through the Palantir and Minas Tirith, and then Boromir dies, and then Faramir almost dies, and so he has this gradual kind of descent into despair. And I feel like with Boromir, it was a very very similar thing where he like we were stating earlier, he came to Rivendell because he's getting these omens, these dreams. He's already stressed out about defending Gondor. He doesn't really have any help in this matter. It's just kind of him alone and maybe some help from Rohan here and there. He's
mhm,
constantly being told no by the Fellowship as he's trying to like propose ideas and like how to help. And then Gandalf dies, and so the elder statesman, if you will, the leader of this group is now gone, and now he's going into a place in Lothlorien where I'm not going to say necessarily it was Galadriel's fault because I don't think it was, but if I recall correctly, the men of Gondor had many suspicions about the Lady of Lothlorien. That they almost saw her as like kind of like an evil being almost in a way. To paraphrase, just a lot of myth and rumor and conjecture. And so like all of this is probably in his mind and gradually kind of like tearing him apart more or less, like just kind of breaking his psyche. And then of course
mhm.
there's the encompassing all of that is the temptation of the ring. Um, so I think it's like a very very slow descent, and once he got to Lothlorien, that was started the beginning of the breaking point for him.
Yeah. Well, and Galadriel actually did almost invade their minds, because
Yeah.
they all are saying afterwards, it's like, it's funny. I felt, weird, and they were, and then it says all of them, it seemed, had fared alike. Each had felt that the lady had offered a choice between a shadow full of fear that lay ahead and something that he greatly desired. So what
Mhm.
here before his mind it lay, and to get it, he had only to turn aside from the road and leave the quest. So I don't know if that was okay what she did, because I'm like, Gladriel, what? Or if it was just something about being in her presence, but they really did feel like she had done that to him, some like telepathy or something.
Yeah, it almost seemed like was it okay for her to do that, I guess it would be an interesting debate. I think
Mhm,
her goal was to really see how invested, because the one thing about Galadriel, we can touch on this real quickly, is she had a very discerning eye when it came to judging people's character.
mhm,
And so that was one of her ways of kind of like testing people just to see like how invested are you really in this quest.
yeah,
Um, just to kind of get a gauge on how to move forward, what kind of guidance she could give the fellowship. Um,
yeah. And Boromir didn't like it. He said, "To me, it seemed exceedingly strange. Maybe it
mhm.
was only a test, and she thought to read our thoughts for her own good purpose. But I almost should have said that she was tempting us and offering what she pretended to have the power to give. It need
Mhm.
not be said that I refused to listen. The men of Minas Tirith are true to their word." But what he thought the lady had offered him, Boromir did not tell. So he didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, I think that almost goes back to like it almost being like kind of an unnatural thing for like a
Mhm,
man of Gondor to encounter. Like there's probably not a single one of them, maybe other than Denethor because he's dealing with the Palantir,
mhm,
who ever experienced anything like that because they just I don't think Gondor had any communication with Lothlorien at all. So there'd be no interactions with anything, any kind of power like that. So it probably felt crazy unnatural to suddenly have this woman invade your mind.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
just
And then Boromir even said, "I do not feel too sure of this elvish lady and her purposes."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a very good moral debate about that. It's like, should she have done that, or was it even something she did completely on purpose? Maybe just because she's like, super high powered elf, that
Right.
it just happened naturally
Right.
around her. Hmm.
Or maybe that's just kind of the thing when she's just that it's just it's telepathic Tourette's. She just can't help it. She's just like
Yeah,
she's trying to figure out where everybody's coming from. It just happens. She just gets into people's heads. Uh,
yeah,
but no. In all seriousness, I really do think it was a case of um, uh,
yeah.
I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, it tasted the supernatural, but I feel like
Yeah.
it did trigger something in him because it says Frodo caught something new and strange in Boromir's glance.
Hmm.
So, it, whatever she touched in him, it brought something out.
It might have been the temptation. Again, it might have been just like a lingering thought in the back of his mind, like I need to get my hands on the ring.
Mhm, and maybe it's brought to the forefront. So it's all
Yeah,
Galadriel's fault he finally loses it. If
yeah,
she
yeah,
just hadn't reminded him that that was in there, he would have
right,
just been more chill.
yeah. Yeah. Galadriel's the reason Boromir died. That's
Yeah.
well.
Galadriel, well, but maybe she is the psychopath that she's shown in
I was
that.
just about to say, depending on what version of Galadriel we're talking about here,
Yeah,
you know. Oh man.
yeah. And then when we get, though, to the gifts,
Hmm.
Boromir gets a very interesting gift with
Yes.
his, belt, which
Yep.
has a lot of symbolism. She gave him a belt of gold.
Mm-hmm. And she also gave him a cloak as well as along
Oh,
with
yeah,
obviously
they
the
all
rest
got
of
the
the
cloak,
fellowship.
but you know
Yeah,
how they
yeah.
all got different things, and a belt of
Mhm.
gold, that's like a symbol of, like, integrity. I looked up the symbolism there. I need to get it before me because,
Mhm.
everyone else got, well, everyone got the cloak. Yay! Everyone
Right.
gets a cloak. You get a
Get a
cloak.
cloak.
Everyone got Lembas, but, as we know, Frodo got what he got. They got the Light of Elendil, and of course, you had Gimli becoming super simp, and but Boromir was the only one that was given a belt of gold, and it says here that as a symbol, a gold of bell is a belt of gold is a beacon of excellence representing the highest form of achievement. So, like, that's what you get, like, when you become the heavy champion of the world. So
Hmm.
it's actually something, maybe some hope she has in him?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Or even though she might have he might have kind of had his desires, I guess, triggered in a way. She still
Mhm.
understood that he was a very noble man, um,
Yeah.
and a staunch man, and so she wanted to kind of give him a gift that represented his true character as she had discerned it. Absolutely. I think that's totally correct. Give me just 1 second. I need to go use the men's room real quick.
Oh, okay. And
So
meanwhile, let's all take a commercial break.
commercial break.
The High King, must go take a royal visit.
Yes, the royal
But
visit.
yeah, but go right ahead. Like I said,
All right, cool.
we all have our issues, and it was woven with the elven leaves as well, and that he's a noble man, and of course gold means that. Now silver, the other two dudes got silver ones, Merry and Pippin, but I just think that that's pretty cool that that is what Galadriel chose to give Boromir. The High King is indisposed. Yes, that's what happens when the High King is just working 24/7 to get those Silmarils back. Oh gosh. Um, mm, it's also a belt has is related, it says here, to, defense is linked with your sword. Oh gosh. And of course, gold is something with purity. and his high status, etc. I also like the trope that they have here of giving gifts. Like in all these fantasies, everyone gets a gift that they're going to be using on their journeys. Let's see.
Okay, the High King of the Noldor is no longer indisposed. We are good to
Yay!
go.
Yeah, I was just going on about, the symbolism of gold and
Mhm.
status, and that it's valued among men. Gold was revered for its value over silver, while among the elves, silver was more valued more dearly. Like it was like the sun and the moon.
Mm.
And the hobbits got little silver ones, so it's so cute. And maybe also showing that they were going to be linked together, because sometimes the belt of gold, the belt, that was where you'd put your sword in. And Pippin, and Merry all got a belt, and we know that Boromir was going to be defending him.
Yep. And something else. Something Shane brought up was that Boromir said he felt naked in her presence. That's true as well. Like
Mhm.
when it's all because everybody has thoughts that they kind of keep to themselves, I guess would be the best way to put it. Like everybody sometimes, like, you know, your own, just privacy in your own head, I guess would be the best way to put it. And just
Yeah.
having somebody come in and just all of you is just exposed. It's just, um
Yeah. And of course, the whole I feel like she's undressing me with her eyes when you said feeling naked. and you can, Gadfly says you can dilute the golden belt down to a symbol of nobility, both in spirit and nature.
Mhm,
Reflects Boromir's ancestry as well as his personal heroic nature, a
mhm,
subtle reminder of him to his goodness.
mhm. And
Yeah.
if I recall correctly, let me double check something here. I
Mhm.
just want to see, um uh because I cannot remember. There's like a little tie-in, because oftentimes Tolkien likes to recycle names. For instance, there's there's like three separate Denethors,
Mhm.
but the house that Boromir is a part of is the House of Húrin, is the House of Stewards. And something I was just remembering is because was the older brother. Um, Hor was the younger brother. Okay, so it's the opposite of what happened with He's a part of the House of Húrin. Um,
And we know how that
and
turned
it
out.
was Húrin's younger brother that was slain with an arrow. Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I was just more or less looking into the cause of death.
Yeah.
Because Hur, the younger brother, was killed with an arrow, and then Boromir, the older brother, was killed with arrows as well. It's just a nice way of Tolkien kind of. I hate to use the word recycling because that makes it sound very cheap, but it's
No.
just reoccurring themes, um,
It's like
just over and
history, it
over and over again.
rhymes.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like poetry, it rhymes. Yeah.
Well, and
And as well.
well, here's another thing too. As we were talking about, just talking. Want to talk more about the belt and everything else here in just a second. But I was thinking about when we were talking about the Bridge of Khazad Doom.
Mhm.
Boromir takes up the rear guard. Um, Rewind about 7,000 years or so, it was Húrin and Hur who had taken up the rear guard during the retreat of Turgon from the Battle of Unnumbered Tears.
Hmm. Well,
And like
there
I
we
said,
go.
Boromir
Yeah.
is a part of the House of Húrin. It's not related in any way to Húrin or Hur, but it's just I wonder if Tolkien was kind of thinking about that in the back of his mind. Like, I'm gonna have, because historically speaking, the rear guard is like one of the most dangerous places you can be. Um, and for Boromir to set himself there as like it just goes again to show just the bravery of the character. Just
Yeah.
like I'm going to charge in against Balrogs, and I'll be a part of the rear guard, no problem. Let Aragorn lead the front.
Yeah.
And they're
And
interesting about
symbolically king, so he would be in front.
exactly.
Yeah.
An interesting
And
thing about gold and silver. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Go
I was
ahead.
just going. Yeah, Sort of Poopin says an interesting thing about gold and silver in some of Tolkien's writings is that gold is more tainted by the spirit of Morgoth, and silver is more
Mm,
pure. Oh, interesting. Yeah, because the elves valued it more.
yep.
This is from
Mm-hmm.
one of the 23-volume History of Middle Earth books. Yes. Okay. Cool. And Gadfly Fiction says a gift is a massive trope in mythologies and classical literature. The act of gift giving was forming a bond between the people. Think Diomedes and Glacius in the Iliad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even the three kings, or rather the
Mm-hmm.
Magi, they don't say three kings in the Bible, but yeah, Jesus gets gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone gets a gift.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a recurring thing of just gift giving to form bonds. Even the one that I think of from the Legendarium is, I believe it was the dwarves of Nogrod and Mithros, the eldest son of Feanor. I'm pretty sure it was these two, but
Mhm.
it's when or was it? Shoot, I might be misremembering this. I feel like I'm misremembering this. I know the dwarves of Nogrod give an elven lord the helm of Dorlomin, the dragon helm,
Mm.
as a kind of
Oh,
gift in the same manner. Um, just one that came to mind. Gadfly will be able to correct me on which elf lord it was, but I remember that. That's just like the first thing that came to mind. I was like, oh yeah, this is another reoccurring theme. Of course,
yeah. We
which is to be expected because Tolkien's knowledge of like not just Anglo-Saxon mythology, but just mythologies in general was unparalleled in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, certainly right up there with some of the best. And there's a reason why he's called the father of fantasy.
mhm.
And I heard someone say, and Robert E. Howard is a crazy uncle.
Yeah.
I love Robert E. Howard. So off they go. And this is where Boromir's almost looking like he's losing his mind a little bit.
Hmm.
Merry and Pip were in the middle boat, were both ill at ease, for Boromir sat muttering to himself, sometimes biting his nails, as if some restlessness or doubt consumed him, sometimes
Mm.
seizing a paddle and driving the boat close behind Aragorn's. Then Pippin, who sat in the bow looking back, caught a queer gleam in his eye as he peered forward, gazing at Frodo.
Mm.
So he's
He's
kind of
losing
not
it.
losing it, but it sounds like he's losing his marbles. And of course, when you bite your nails, that is a sign of high anxiety. Yes, 12 volumes. Yes. It comes from Morgard's Rings. It says Holdor was given the gift of the helm, if I recall, or he,
I thought
correct me if I.
I thought Hador. I'm gonna have to look into this after the stream
Yeah.
because we're
Everyone's
talking
got
about,
to Google.
but I could have sworn Hador was given it by the elves because it was only certain members of his house that could even wear the damn thing because it was so heavy. Like
Mhm.
I don't think any of the elven lords ever wore it. But I know it was given to an elf initially. I just can't remember which one. I want to say it was Mithros, but then again, it could also have been Thingol.
Yeah. Or was
Um,
it that he was the only one who could use it, perhaps?
well, Hador could, I believe. Turin obviously could.
Hmm.
Hurin, I believed, could but refused to.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
there you go.
but anyway, back to Boromir.
Yeah. No. Yeah, the ring called to anyone who would want to use it. Yeah. But he's
Yeah.
definitely and the fact that he is like biting his nails and all that, it shows that there is a struggle to
Yeah, the dwarves gave
to
it to Mithros.
within
Yeah.
him. Like it's not just going to go, I just feel like this, and maybe even a bit of madness because Boromir even says that a little bit, the madness that kind of came over him. And I want to get to that key scene. We're getting there now where they are trying to decide what course to take, and Frodo's off thinking, and Boromir finds him off alone, and he's kind of being very casual, like, Hey, what's up?" But
Right.
Frodo right away is very, okay, I'm just not so sure about what's going on here. And then as they start to talk, he's like, "Well, is it not a strange fate that we should suffer so much fear and doubt for so small a thing? So
Yep.
small a thing. And I have seen it only for an instant in the house of Elrond. Could I not have sight of it again?" And of course, Frodo, that was like the red flag. Frodo
Yep.
looked up. His heart went suddenly cold, and he caught the strange gleam in Boromir's eyes. So again, it's almost like a madness, almost a possession, but
Yeah.
obviously free will is still capable here. And they said, yet his face was still kind and friendly. And Frodo goes, "It is best that it should lie hidden," he answered. "As you wish. I care not," said Boromir. And we're all like, yeah, the second anyone says, "I don't
Yeah.
care," you
Yep.
know what it means. And then he starts to try to convince him. He's like, "Come on, my friend," said Boromir in a softer voice. "Why not get rid of it? Why not be free of your doubt and fear? You can lay the blame on me if you will. You can say I was too strong and took it by force. For I am too strong for you, halfling." And then that's where it's like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yep.
Uh, and then he tries to, yes, I am no thief. Now, I want to confirm, yes, where when Boromir left and he did the big blowing of the horn, and
Hmm.
they were like, "Dude," and he's like, "I'm not going to leave here like a thief in the night." And
Yep.
then he kind of becomes a thief or
Yeah.
tries to.
Tries to. Yeah.
Maybe some.
Well,
And he's like, that's good. Go
it,
ahead.
it's the ring corrupting somebody and turning them into something they're not.
Yeah.
The ring. It's why the ring is it's a great villain in and of itself. Um, the it's taking Boromir's biggest insecurities and manipulating him in such a way to make him behave in a manner that he ordinarily wouldn't.
Hmm.
And it's so telling to me. Something that I was reading here, or you were reading rather, where Frodo catches the strange gleam in Boromir's eyes, yet his face was still kind and friendly.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
the it's one of those things. I was trying to think of the right way to phrase it while you were reading the line, but I feel like his face was kind of not betraying who he was as a person, because he's a good man, but that's the wrong way to phrase it, but it's the only way I can think of phrasing it. But his face was reflective of who he was, but there was that gleam in his eye of that desire for the ring that was
Hmm.
that was kind of betrayed. So
Yeah. I I believe that what Tolkien is also showing here is how powerful
mhm.
temptation is.
Oh yeah.
When you are really given an opportunity, and it will usually, true temptation will usually present itself as an angel of light, if you will. I'm
Mhm.
doing it for a good reason. And
Yes.
how that can, and how desperation and despair can also kind of take over your mind and make you not yourself.
Oh yeah.
And then, yeah. And then when he makes the lunge for him and stuff, as for I'm too strong for you, halfling. And then he said, his fair and pleasant face was hideously changed, a raging fire in his eyes. And he's like, "Miserable
Mhm.
trickster," after Frodo disappears. "I see your mind. You're going to take the ring to Sauron and sell us all. Curse you and all halflings to death and darkness." And then he catches his foot on a stone and lay sprawling and lay upon his face. For a while he was as still as if his own curse had struck him down. Then suddenly he wept. "What have I said? What have I done? Frodo, Frodo, come back. A madness took me, but it is past. Come back."
Yeah. So he fell and then just like snapped out of it, like, oh
Mhm.
crap. Like what
Mhm.
do I do? But he didn't snap out of it so much, as we find out later, to automatically reveal to Aragorn and everybody what he had done. He kind of tells a little bit of a white lie to him.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like they're like, "Where's Frodo?" It's like, "Oh well,
yep.
Frodo. Frodo is
Yeah,
Frodo."
Frodo's I saw him. He's okay. He just wants some time by himself. We talked. It's all good. Yeah, it's like Aragorn was suspicious, but he didn't say anything. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I actually have that here.
Yeah, well, and actually, he kind of tells the truth though. He says, "I became angry and he left me." He does
Yeah.
tell them that he tried to. He's
Well,
like,
he
"Have you
didn't.
seen Frodo?" Yes and no.
Yes and no.
I
Well, he says
yeah.
he doesn't. It's lying by omission. Yeah, I was very angry and he left me. Well, that's not all of the story now, is it, Boromir?
Uh-huh.
Um, but
And then he's like, "I thought he would return to you."
yep. Let me see
And then
here.
Aragorn, "Is that all you have to say?" Looking hard and not too kindly at Boromir. "Yes," he
Yeah.
answered, "I will say no more yet."
Yep. That Boromir sitting
But
some.
then it says that it was like, "When's the last time you saw Boromir?" It said, "Half an hour maybe, or maybe an hour. I have wandered for some time since. I do not know. I do not know." He put his head in his hands and sat as if bowed with grief. So he is also experiencing remorse. He is
Yeah.
experiencing contrition.
Yeah. And I think it's of an extreme degree too. Given the character that we know that he is,
Mhm,
he's always tried to just do good,
mhm,
and as best he can given the circumstances, and for him to go through that extreme of a moment of weakness, just
mhm,
where on it's almost like, I liken it to, as somebody who's 3 years sober, I can attest to this. When you are a drinker, a heavy drinker,
mhm,
and when you drink, you turn into a completely different person, and then when you get up the next morning, you're like, oh my goodness, what did I say, what did I do, this, that, and the other. You kind of reflect on it. You're like, that was not me. And it's the
mhm,
same thing with Boromir here after he faces the temptation of the ring and fails, essentially. It's the exact same thing. Not that Tolkien ever intended any allegory, he didn't, but there are some comparisons you can make to, either addiction or being under the influence of something. Would be a
mhm.
good way to put it. Because he was under the influence of the ring when all that transpired. Um,
Correct.
yeah,
Well, and on several occasions, he even says about Frodo, and it's like Frodo couldn't do it either. That Frodo went as far as he could, so there had to
hmm
be like kind of like that intervention, because the when you're held sway by it, the temptation can be so strong
hmm
that you just can't deal.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Eventually, there's a breaking point. Um,
Hmm.
and
But it also says something also about Boromir's character was that he was contrite and that he did kind of tell mostly tell the truth,
yeah,
and you can tell that it was genuine contrition. He wasn't just BSing. He
yeah.
really felt horrible. She no one says, "Hey, congratulations on 5 years or 3 years rather."
Thanks,
Yeah,
Shane.
yeah, and it reminds me perhaps of the way it worked with Saint Peter and Judas, where Peter betrayed Christ 3 times and immediately bitterly wept
hmm
and repented and redeemed himself, came back and all that. While Judas, he betrayed Christ and deleted himself from the planet
Yeah,
in despair. So
exactly.
obviously it's saying that it's not necessarily what you do that's wrong, even though it's pretty bad,
Yeah.
but you can always come back. It's if you don't come back. And Boromir is just such a great example. The ultimate redemption, we have to go into the two towers for this,
hmm
is when let me bring this up here. I got some art. This moment. where they're overrun by orcs and Pippin and Merry, and he dies. And I like the way that we don't actually get it described for us what actually happens. They hear the horn of Boromir.
Mm-hmm.
See, there were cries, and among them, to his horror, he could distinguish harsh voices of orcs. So it's kind of from Aragorn's point of view. And
Mm-hmm.
then the blasts of the great horn smote the hills and echoed in the hollows, rising in a mighty shout above the roaring of the falls. The horn of Boromir, he cried, he is in need. And then he ran as the cries became louder. So what ends up happening is he cries, Elendil, Elendil. I guess he has to cry Elendil all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to say something slightly dirty. Is that what he does with Arwen? At the moment, he calls out the wrong name, but I digress.
Right.
Yes. So we don't see what Boromir is doing. We just hear that horn, and then a mile maybe from blah blah blah, he found Boromir. He was sitting with his back to a great tree, as if he was resting. But Aragorn saw that he was pierced with many black feathered arrows. This is telling a story right here without showing us. His sword was still in his hand, but it was broken near the hilt. His horn cloven in two was at his side. Many orcs lay slain, piled all about him and at his
Mm-hmm.
feet. That tells us how amazingly he fought and how many he slew before he succumbed. And then he does the big confession. He tells the full story. Oh, there's the horn. They're showing it with arrows in him.
Mm-hmm.
Boromir opened his eyes and strove to speak. At last the slow words came. I tried to take the ring from Frodo.
Mm.
And he said, I am sorry. I have paid. And his glance strayed to his fallen enemies. 20 at least lay there. So it was a big old pile of 20 orcs. Oops, oh, sorry. And then I don't think I have the full quote here, so I'm going to read this here. They have gone, the halflings. The orcs have taken them. I think they are not dead. Orcs bound them. He paused and closed his eyes wearily. After a moment, he spoke again. Farewell, Aragorn. Go to Minas Tirith and save my people. I have failed. No, said Aragorn, taking his hand and kissing his brow. You have conquered. Few have gained such a victory. Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fail.
Mm-hmm.
Boromir smiled. Which way did they go? Was Frodo there? Said Aragorn. But Boromir did not speak again.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I
beautiful.
know. And what's interesting is you don't get a great deal of detail about Boromir's end from that. And insofar as like how he strove against the orcs.
Mm-hmm.
Until you get to the chapter in Return of the King called Minas Tirith, where Denethor, his first command to Pippin was, "Tell me what happened to my son," and then Pippin goes into detail about what exactly transpired.
Mm-hmm.
I have it right here.
Oh, okay, great.
Let me find it here.
Yeah.
Let's see
So I
here.
love it. At this point, we just know 20 orcs lay at his feet. That's not insignificant.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Trying to find it here. Bring along, blah, 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 I guess. Goes into.
Yeah.
Now tell me your tale, my liege, said Denethor, half kindly, half mockingly, for the words of one whom my son so befriended will be welcome indeed. I know it's here. It might be another chapter ahead, but
Yeah. Well, as you're looking for that, I'll just point
yeah.
out that the last words that Boromir hears is, "Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fail." And then he
Mm-hmm.
smiles.
Yep.
It's like, oh, Boromir.
Yep. It's like it probably did his heart a lot good to know that, like, Aragorn's got your back, but even if you're not gonna make it, like,
Yeah.
um s-
And he also reassured him, no, you have not failed. That's what he's saying. You
right.
have conquered, few have gained such victory. Be at peace. I,
Um
I like the touch in the movie. I know I've not said the movie, but I'll just say where he puts his sword in his hand. But yeah, that was not following my own rules. But I guess when I'm the queen, I can break my rules.
All right, it says, okay, so Pippin never forgot that hour in the Great Hall under the piercing eye of the Lord of Gondor, stabbed ever and anon by his shrewd questions, and all the while conscious of Gandalf at his side watching and listening. And so felt Pippin, holding in check a rising wrath and impatience. Um, I know he described, because I believe, was it Pippin? I might be misremembering this. Because I know one of them brings up the fact that Boromir kept blowing the horn, but the only things that kept showing up was just more orcs. Um,
Everybody, Google. Let's find
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Here,
Because
yeah.
again, this is me on 5 hours of sleep brain. I could probably like.
No, it's okay. We understand, and that's maybe something we can look at later. But what an end! What an end for
Oh
this
yeah.
guy. Because it really was a very, very small moment in a long line of selflessness and despair. I think maybe that's why I like Boromir in many ways. We can relate to him. Who hasn't had moments of weakness? You
Oh yeah.
when you've got like a saint or something like that effect, or rather a stereotypical saint. Real saints actually did strive and struggle. We can't relate to that because that's not us. But just the fact that Tolkien knows the human heart so well, and not just that men will fall, people will fall, but that they aren't necessarily to be judged by that. It depends, of course, on your disposition after your fall.
Um, I oh shoot, I think I found it.
Okay.
Let's see here. Just to make sure I have it right.
Yeah.
Um,
As she Nolan says, we are royalty. We are the makers of manners. Henry V. I love Henry V. And of course, we're going to be seeing the horn showing up when in dreams and all sorts of good things.
okay, so in the aftermath of the intense battle, um, onslaught of the orcs. Okay. Um, Oh yeah. So this I found the Cliff Notes version. It's book
Okay.
5, chapters 1 through 5, if anybody wants to know. But essentially, Boromir had fought fiercely to defend Merry and Pippin from the relentless onslaught of the orcs. His great horn echoed through the woods, momentarily halting the enemy's advance. When he blew the horn, it scared the hell out of the orcs. However, when
Yay.
no response came, the orcs attacked with renewed ferocity. Boromir, wounded by many arrows, leaned against a tree, plucking out one of the deadly shafts. Darkness descended swiftly upon him, and he breathed his last. In Pippin's words, here we go, perfect. Then Boromir had come leaping through the trees. He had made them fight, or he had made, yeah, he made them. I don't know if that's a typo. He had made them fight. He slew many of them, and the rest fled. Um, so yeah, when he blew the horn, he scared the orcs too, just like he scared the elves earlier. But when when nobody came to help him after he blew the horn, the orcs just decided to attack
Yeah.
more ferociously.
You're like,
So.
that horn doesn't scare me.
Like, nothing happened. Okay, we got this. But and even the one thing I remember right off the top of my head is that the Uruk chieftain, when after they capture Merry and Pippin, um, they even give Boromir praise because they say it was we Uruks who killed the great warrior, something to that effect.
Yay, Boromir. I like to think that he would have gotten a little statue in Gondor.
A little one, a little statue.
Okay, not a little big one, but you know what I'm saying, that they would do something pretty badass for him and remember him. And I can imagine, probably with him blowing the horn of Gondor, maybe.
I actually have an interesting one, an interesting thought process behind it, a little headcanon, if you will.
Okay.
So Faramir is made Prince of Ithilien. He's obviously the steward of Gondor, but he's also kind of like it's his pasture, so to speak, is Ithilien. If there was an entrance to Ithilien, just have a statue of Boromir there, kind of like the Argonath in a way.
Yeah.
But have it be a statue of Boromir, like that's once you pass the statue, you have entered Ithilien now. These are the lands of Faramir. Like, I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, the lands of the House of the Stewards, because
exactly.
Obviously, it's going to be shifted with what Aragorn did. I think it's really cool that Aragorn kept the office of the steward, because the whole idea was that it was not needed anymore. And he's like, no, actually, we're going to keep this up. We're going to make it a principality. It's going to be inherited. So yay. And the crowd goes wild. But, so goes Aragorn here off to the great beyond in his boat that apparently everyone sees. But I think it was more of a dream. It wasn't that boat was passing by everybody.
Well, the
supernatural involved there.
The other thing that I find very interesting, well, it might have been just due to, I guess, a time constraint on the part of Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas, because they obviously had to go find Merry and Pippin, but it's typically in the tradition of men and elves and dwarves, there's some sort of like funeral cairn that is built, not built, but like dug or otherwise, where the body is laid to rest. There's a couple that Fingolfin was put in a cairn. Turin Turambar was buried. There's been several others, but the burial, quote unquote, of Boromir is very, very unique, where they put him on the boat with his gear and sent him over Rhoros. I thought that was it's very unique in Tolkien's world for that to take place.
Yeah.
The only other character I can think of that went over a waterfall would be Turin's sister, Nienor. But that was a self-delete. That wasn't a burial.
Yeah, it sounds about ready to say. It's like it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
Also, the weapons of the orcs. Oh yeah, that's true.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah, boat is Viking. Yes, and I'm wondering about that. Why that is an interesting choice. Why did they? Maybe it really could have been because they didn't even have time to build a current. They were like, hey, we got to go.
Yeah.
No playing around. Let's throw him on a boat, everyone.
They expedited his burial. Like, well, if I recall correctly, Aragorn. I'll just open the book. Oh my goodness, I need to stop. I need to stop being stubborn and relying on my 5 hour sleep. Yeah,
I've got it here. Let's see.
But I believe he says something to the effect of that. He'll be the Anduin will carry him to Gondor or something like that. Something to the effect of that.
They cut several branches, latched together with bowstrings, and spread their cloaks upon the frame. Upon the rough bier, they carried the body of their companion to the shore, together with such trophies of his last battle as they chose to send forth with him. It was only a short way, yet they found it no easy task, for Boromir was a man both tall and strong. At the waterside, Aragorn remained, watching the bier, while Legolas and Gimli hastened back on foot. It was a mile or two, and it was some time before they came back, paddling 2 boats. And let's see, what else do they say?
I see it right here. We will send him to the Yeah, we will send him to the falls of Rhoros and give him to the Anduin. The river of Gondor will take care, at least, that no evil creature dishonors his bones.
Oh, okay. So maybe that
Yeah.
was. And when he sang a song, that's always a big joke. It's like, why are they always singing? But yeah. Oh, interesting. The boat was commissioned by Gladrail, says Charlie Stevenson, and it could have borne Boromir's body safely back to Gondor.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
But if I were to, it does in a way bear his body back to Gondor. But when the men of Gondor find the boat, it's just the horn, I believe, that they find. They don't actually have Boromir's body.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, it says in Gondor in the after days, it was long was said that the elven boat rode the falls and the foaming pool and bore him down through Osgiliath and past the many mouths of the Anduin and onto the great sea at night under the
mm,
stars.
mm, mm,
Oh, sounds good. Though probably not.
right.
Yeah, they sang, man. They all sang for quite a while. So much for the quick funeral. Because then Legolas sang, then Aragorn sang again.
Yep. Then Legolas sang, Aragorn sang. Wait, did Gimli sing? Hold on. No, Gimli did not sing.
Yeah, he
I'm
did
looking
not
at it
sing.
right here. You left the east. Oh, this is why he said, because they were talking about the directions of the wind, and Gimli says, "You left the east wind to me, but I will say naught of it." That is as it should be, said Aragorn and Minas Tirith. They endure the east wind, but they do not ask for it for tidings. But now Boromir has taken his road, and we must make haste to choose our own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the east
And
wind is Mordor. Um,
correct.
yep. Oh
And
goodness.
everybody cries. And it's so
Yeah,
moving when you.
it is.
If we could only go back in time and read these for the first time, wouldn't that be something?
You know what? I'll tell you, yeah, the horn was found separately and
Yeah,
it
it
was
was. Yeah, the horn was found. Yes, but not the
yeah.
body. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's always, it's not necessarily that I always find something new. I'm always kind of struck by different things. Like I want to say it was a week or two ago. I would just kind of found myself in a really bad place. Just kind of like mentally, I just wasn't. I was seeing a whole bunch of stuff on Twitter, and I was just like, this,
Oh,
feeling very black pilled, as they say.
yeah.
And I posted about, just because I needed to vent a little bit about it. And then one of my followers, God bless him, I can't remember who it was, but if you ever listen to this, man, I appreciate you so much. He posted the entire charge of Theoden on Pelennor Fields from the
Oh,
book,
yeah.
and like that brought me to tears, but like happy tears. I was like, oh man, I forgot how good this was. So it was almost like experiencing it again for the first time, you know. But I almost wonder if it's like an age thing where, like, as I get older, there's more things in the books that I appreciate that maybe I didn't necessarily not appreciate, but didn't really kind of understand,
Hmm.
I guess, for lack of a better term. And just with
Yeah.
age, I'm starting to see more things within what Tolkien wrote. Just in terms of just like through life experience or being motivated by different things. Like for instance, I just a few minutes ago when I was talking about with how you can compare the kind of reaction to temptation or the way that Boromir was behaving to somebody who was drunk. That's directly from my life experience, but I didn't really actually think about that until just now, like in kind of like self-reflection of um, how I used to be when I drank. I was like, oh wow, you know that they very much go hand in hand with each other. So I think every time you open these books, I get the idea of wanting to, kind of erase it. It's kind of like what Peter Jackson said, erase it from his memory so he can experience it all over again for like brand
Hmm.
new for the first time. But I feel like every time I reread it, I'm experiencing something new for the first time, even if it's the same story that I know. Um, I just kind of experience it in a different way, so to speak. I know that was a very long-winded way of saying that, but
Yeah,
and I
no.
apologize.
We get different life experiences, and I think that that's why we all get so moved by it. And
Mhm.
you know that Tolkien put his heart and soul of his life experiences into several of these, and he did lose many brave friends in battle, and so you
Mhm.
know that it had to have been a part of him, the way he wrote Boromir and the way that they honored him.
Yeah.
And when Faramir had his vision and he saw him with the sword and all that, but he's like, "Where is your horn, Boromir? Oh, brother!" And oh, it just
Yeah.
gets you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know where I was going with this now. But like the ride of the Rohirrim, the charge of the Rohirrim
Oh
Pelennor was
gosh, yeah,
I I must have read that about 200 times. Probably a lot
yeah.
more than that. I've read the book so many times. But when you're in a certain place, you you experience different things whenever you engage with the books. And like I, I think from now on, if I'm ever in like a down place, like emotionally, mentally, I'm just gonna, or if I know somebody who is, I'm just gonna recommend they read that, because Tolkien has a way of
Hmm.
writing things to where like his characters in the book, if you really like descend into the secondary world, so as he would put it, those characters can lift you up.
Hmm.
It's an amazing thing that I've never experienced in any other book series, or not I'm not going to use the word franchise, but like any kind of universe or anything like that, any kind of fiction that I've ever engaged with. I've never had a fictional character be able to big me up and lift me up out of kind of like, like a desperate situation or a bad time in the same way that Tolkien's characters do it.
Hmm.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the way it's written, and the way Theoden is out in front of everyone no matter what, and the
Yeah.
King's Banner. That's why, and allow a little bit of movie discussion. That's why in the movie, when you
Yeah.
saw the Rohirrim there, and he's like the King's Banner's in the middle, and he goes forth Aer Lingus, and you see him
Mhm.
in front as they're leading, that he is in front of all of them as it takes off. I just burst into tears because
Yeah.
that image was so accurate to the book. Now there were other parts of the it that was not, but that was it. And he
Yeah.
goes forward with the King's Banner, staying in front of them as they start their charge. And oh my gosh,
The the
just
th-
Niagara
the
Falls.
the yeah, right. The thing that got me, how when Mary was observing Theoden, and
Mm,
Theoden looked old and beaten and just worn down, and his head hung low, and then suddenly Theoden just sprang up and did the whole "Arise, Riders of Rohan!" Like, we're gonna go do this. Like, it was just suddenly like Theoden just like, it was like a renewed youth, so to speak, I
mhm.
guess would be the best way to. And it was just like, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
I needed this so much. Um,
yeah, and the horrible burden. And one thing that struck me too, once it's all over, sometimes people will say no one died in Lord of the Rings. It's like, yes,
uh,
they did.
yes,
Yes,
they
only
did.
one of the fellowship died.
Yep.
Because again, it because it's stupid. The Game of Thrones TV show ruined everything. Everyone thinks everyone has to die for it to be realistic. It's like, well, that's not even true to the books. That's not what George R. R. Martin said, but everyone likes to put his words into everything apparently nowadays out of
I
context.
can't.
But
I can't. Yeah.
oh, well, no, but hey, you maybe like him, don't like him, but you don't take him out of
Yeah.
context, and you gotta
True.
be
True. True.
honest with him, and a lot of
Yeah.
people have been trying to do that and pit him against Tolkien, and that's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. He has a
Yeah.
lot of great he likes Tolkien a lot and has said great things about this work, but the point being that sometimes I've heard some individuals think that, that there was not death in this, but
Yeah.
it absolutely is not true. Theoden, first of all, he died. all his his sister, Awen's parents died. They lost their
Mhm.
cousin. They lost their what was I going to say? Yeah, and then of course all the people that died in the battle. And then you have Faramir, who's left for him. He lost his dad. He
Yep.
lost Boromir. He had nobody. And so when he and Awen find themselves, it is really, they're orphans together.
Yeah.
And I always imagine it was a little bit whitewashed. Well, whitewash is the wrong word. Tolkien wrote down what he wanted to write down. But after the Battle of Pelennor Fields,
Hmm.
you know, with all the dead horses, all the dead bodies, it smelt, and there would have had to have been some amazing amount of cleanup and
Oh yeah.
the deaths. And sometimes when you'll see what will happen after bodies, I'm thinking of things like Gettysburg and all that. They said that it smelt for, goodness knows how long. So just horrendous death.
Yeah.
And Aragorn, he's an orphan. He doesn't have
Hmm.
anyone.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
almost think of the historical battle that comes to it's not the same kind of battle, like not the same situation, but it's insofar as like the description of it and how horrific it was would be the Battle of Cannae. Um, it was the Romans against Hannibal, and
mm,
the Romans were trapped essentially in a box by Hannibal. It's one of the greatest military maneuvers ever, but the way that they described it was just like I don't know why that battle popped in my mind because the Battle of Pelennor Fields is nothing like the Cannae, but just the you bringing up descriptions of battles and how horrible it must have smelled and the noises and everything like that. It's just ugh.
mhm. Yeah,
It's
and like all
it's
the dead horses.
awful. Hmm.
Yeah, and of course during World War One, that was like one of the last wars where you lose horses, and the grievous
Hmm.
loss of Tolkien used to train war horses, and losing them
Yep.
was painful to him. Yeah, and you're right about the second thing. Yeah, the whole death, death, death in the movie, they had that
Yeah.
before, but no, that was actually Éomer's second charge after he saw Theoden dead and thought that Éowyn was dead.
Yeah.
So yes, so there's a
Oh yeah.
lot of death. And
Theodred died too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Arwen, they didn't die, but they all went to the west. So when she went to be with Aragorn, it's like Daddy went, all her
Hmm.
friends, it was, oh, yeah, they were talking about the mass casualties absolutely made Tolkien long for an earlier time. Yeah, so again, it is perfectly within what Tolkien wrote that he would not give us the gory details
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
another thing people take in context with George R.R. Martin. He had just said, yeah, he didn't do it, so I did it in mine because
Yeah.
I wanted to show that because that's what he was showing, and he always said, but it would not have been appropriate for Tolkien to do that. And of
Yeah.
course, then everyone took that out of context. But it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, the man saying, hey, that's what he did, and I wanted to see more. So, I love this book. It's one of
Yeah.
the best books ever written. But when I do my book, that's why Game of Thrones, you're going to find in the A Song of Ice and Fire, it's going to be a little more earthy. So you might find something like that in A Song of Ice and Fire, but not in Tolkien. But in our minds, we can imagine what the aftermath and even the Battle of Helm's Deep, not to mention all the orcs. I bet
Oh
they
yeah.
stunk.
Oh yeah. No doubt. Well, and you talk about descriptions, and it with Tolkien, it kind of was it almost seemed like it depended on what he was writing.
Hmm.
So with the one I always go back to is the Battle of Unnumbered Tears from the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
That is a graphic battle
Hmm.
in terms of the brutality in it.
Yeah.
It's very bad. Um insofar as like the entire thing that gets the battle kicked off is the orcs dragging out an elf prisoner and cutting his legs and arms off. Like I mean, like that. It's like,
Yeah.
geez, Louise, like that hit me out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She said, "Good night, Magitech Mags." Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yep. Good night,
Yeah,
Mags.
yeah. Um,
It,
oh yeah, it's brutal, but you know what I mean. Like just some of the things,
yeah.
like the what
Yeah.
were all those like all the
Oh, are you still there?
I almost yeeted myself. Oops.
Uh
No, I didn't. Okay, that was just with the sound. So it, this is all that's so heavy on them, and the death of Boromir is just so um
It's sad.
yeah, and I in my head canon, they didn't have time to truly mourn Boromir,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
that after all the stuff with the king and all that, I feel like Aragorn okay, this is total fan fiction, this is
Hmm.
totally my fantasy, but did, like, a big funeral for Boromir. A big memorial, and they all honored him and all that, because he was a
Well,
son of Gondor.
it's kind of interesting you bring that up because coincidentally, I don't know if you know the Twitter user Middle Earth Mixer. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen him.
Yeah,
He's
I'm aware. I need to be careful. Because I some of these accounts mix up, so I don't wanna
gotcha. No, 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 no
mix
worries.
up the mixer. Yeah, Middle Earth
Yeah,
mixer, yeah.
Middle Earth Mixer. He posted up a quote from Gandalf about Boromir,
Oh,
and let me dig it up here.
let's see, Middle Earth
Uh, Boromir.
mixer.
Um,
Oh. Oh, his posts are protected. Oops.
oh, are they?
I don't
Did
know
he
what
lock
happened.
his account again? That little twerp. Hold on. I'll dig
Well,
it
I'll
up.
tell you, I have been known to do that sometimes because I can't deal.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
for
have to give
sure.
myself a visual. Because, yeah, everyone says, well, you don't have to just, go away from it. And I'm like, no, I have to have a visual of it being
Right,
locked up. Because if I see it locked up, it means, oops, I'm not allowed. I don't have the key, even though I know I do.
right. Let me. Oh, did I? Hold on. Let's see here. Uh, where is
Yeah,
it?
we're finding it here. Because I don't know. He's not an account that likes the Rings of Power, is it? I don't think
No,
so.
no, 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 no,
Okay,
no.
then I'm mixing him up. I'm mixing him again because I know that there's some that really surprised me that they did. I mean, but I guess it's a free country, you can like the Rings of Power.
Here,
It's just very difficult for me to mix the two.
yeah. Oh, here it is, right here. So the quote is, "Poor Boromir. It was a sore trial for such a man, a warrior and a lord of men. Gladriel told me that he was in peril, but he escaped in the end. I am glad. It was not in vain that the young hobbits came with us, if only for Boromir's sake."
Aw.
Yeah. Doesn't it hit
Oh.
you right in the
All
feels?
right, in the fields. All right, in the fields.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is so nice. Oh
Right?
gosh. Yeah. So, well, as we start to get toward the end of this
Hmm.
round of fun, I always kind of throw it out. We've talked a lot about Boromir, all sorts of different aspects. Is there something that you would like to highlight that we haven't already?
That we haven't already?
Yeah, yeah. Just something, or final words about Boromir, or just a sum up.
Boromir is a great example of a character to look up to insofar as, in my opinion, that for the most part, um, even if you screw up, you can always, more often than not, make up for it.
Hmm.
And I think that's the most important thing to take away from the character of Boromir is he's a great example of, um, you know, he made his mistake, but in the end, he more than made up for it. So long as so long as just stay as a decent person and try and do your best, you, you can make up for whatever mistakes you make in life. Um, that, I think that's the best lesson to take away from Boromir's character. That'll be my statement on Boromir as a whole.
Oh, well, and that's it. That is absolutely it. you can't go wrong there. It's ugh. And we as men,
Mhm.
we the race of men, if you will.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, "You're not a man." It's like, listen, I've
Well,
always known that men included women. All right,
here, hold on,
we
hold on.
we can relate to that.
Speak for yourselves. Okay, okay. Listen, y'all are men. Okay, the race of men. Okay, I'm over here, doing my
Oh,
own
you're an
thing.
elf. Yeah. Sorry, sorry. I forgot you're an elf, so you can't relate to this at all. No, but it's inspiring, and we need to have
Mhm.
flawed characters, and
Oh, absolutely.
the temptation that Boromir had, and the fact that no one ever really gives him grief for actually trying to steal it from Frodo. It's like everyone gets it. Yeah,
Yeah,
even people that don't maybe necessarily like the Lord of the Rings, they'll never say, "And Boromir sucked 'cause he tried to steal the ring." Most people will be. It's like we remember how he redeemed himself. So,
exactly. Yeah,
and we, well, and if you even half watch it, you know that. Rather, if you half watch the movies or if you read the books, it's very clear that the temptation of the ring, because it speaks so much, it's like your own personal brand of temptation to
yeah.
misquote Twilight. So
Right.
that masterpiece of
Ugh. Cinema.
it's I'll tell you, there are lessons to be learned from Twilight, but not the ones I think we were supposed to learn.
I'm sure.
So
I'm sure.
even when something's bad, I always like that about the Barbie movie. I don't want to get too much on a tangent, but I'm like, yes, you're making a very good point, but not the point I think you're making. It's like no, it's not going to work that way. Oh my gosh. Well, we needed to go ahead and wrap up because I do have a dog that needs to be let out, and he's probably, doing the four-legged doggy dance thing. Where
Right.
is that person who gives me belly rubs? Why isn't she letting me outside? So tell us where we can find you, High King Feanor.
So for you will find me at Lost History 9. It's gonna be under High King Feanor on Twitter, X, whatever you call it.
Mhm.
Here in the next few days, I'm gonna be getting a new laptop, a whole bunch of different new equipment and everything like that. And then I am gonna be beginning. I'm gonna be getting back into making videos on this platform. So
Ooh.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. I got a Longman coming up on the Longman in his podcast regarding Tolkien. I'm going to be doing a video on EFAP and something that I just noticed about their podcast. It's not going to be a video with me talking crap per se, but it's going to be more of a video with some constructive criticism. And it's probably gonna be my first one up, and it's gonna be a long boy too, because I have a lot to say. Um, and
Okay.
it's about EFAP and their um, mishandling of the Lord of the Rings and speaking about Tolkien as a whole. So that's gonna be my first one
Oh.
coming back. Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, when you said EFAP, I thought you meant you were just gonna do an EFAP. You're talking about it with a
No,
capital E.
yeah,
Okay. Well, yeah, there's something well, and you see, this is the thing that we can all intellectually rebuke each other. I've had to do
yeah.
that over the past few
Oh,
weeks.
absolutely.
It's like because we have to be scholarly people and be open to debate and be open to being wrong as
Yeah,
well. So, yeah, so everyone please subscribe to him, and we know that there will be more content as
yes.
we continue to get closer to I think season 2 is gonna be such a beautiful no, it won't be a beautiful disaster. It's just gonna be a disaster because there's nowhere they can go from here. There is
No,
nowhere they can go. It is
yeah.
just gonna be so awful. I can't wait to cover it. We need some joy in our lives, and
Well,
ironically, this is gonna be it.
so I brought this up to Mags as well. She was doing a gaming stream, and I typed this in her chat. I was like, "Hey, listen, we need to get a bunch of people together, like when the first trailer drops, and do like a live reaction to it."
Mhm.
And she's like, "Why would you put me through that?" And I'm I was like, no, I'll get other people too. Like, so I don't know if you, Miss Martin Muses, would like to be a part of that as well. But once that first trailer comes out, I'm staying off of social media until I do a live reaction to it. I want to have as many people in the live react as possible.
Oh my.
Um, just to see a preview of the ugly disaster that's going to be coming out.
Oh my. Yeah, I did one of those when the first trailer came out, and I was with Lady Gravemaster and Lethal Lightning. And what was interesting, though, that was before we knew that it wasn't going to be based on the works of
Mhm.
Tolkien.
Yeah.
So this time around, yeah, well, just hit me up, and hopefully it won't drop in the middle of the night.
No, I don't think they're gonna do that. I think they'll announce it. I think they'll announce it because there's maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 Rings of Power fans out there who are actually true believers. They're not just Rings of Power fans to be contrarians or whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm sure they'll announce it when it's gonna come out. That way, um, those people will be aware. Of course, we'll all be aware. We'll all be waiting with bated breath to see that, especially me.
Mhm.
I'm just I'm looking forward to it so much.
Yeah. Well, I said earlier, I'm well beyond worried about it affecting my vision of Tolkien because it's not even close. It's different than Jake Skywalker.
Oh yeah,
So
I
yeah.
can totally separate the two. Like
Mhm,
that's not even an issue. Like
mhm.
there's nothing resembling Tolkien's works in Rings of Power. That's an easy one.
Yeah, and I do love the fact that when you really analyze it, that Galadriel is a psychopath. It's like her evil. It's like that evil twin world, or evil world in Star Trek Mirror Mirror, where
Mhm.
everyone's like the evil version of themselves.
Right, right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that'll be fun. Alrighty, well, you have a good evening and rest of the evening. Get some sleep. It sounds like you are in serious need of sleep, and so am
Yeah,
I. So
yeah. I I got a long way to go. I'm on day 17 of 89 in a row.
this is insane.
Yeah. And well, yeah, it's like I was telling Mags, I'm doing anywhere between 60 to 72 hours a week. So yeah, I'm already burnt out, and I'm not even a quarter of the way through what I have to do.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, that's okay though. That's what caffeine's for.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, among other things. So, you have any other any streams coming up or anything like that?
Not streams, but one other thing I am going to be doing here soon, and I will be posting once it gets up and running. I will be posting it to Twitter, and I'll also throw it in my videos as well. I am starting a ArtStation account for my photography as well. I'll be doing nature photography. Just kind of, I love showing off where I live because it's an absolutely gorgeous state. I live in
Mhm.
Colorado, and it is absolutely wonderful. It's beautiful out here, and I love the nature out here. And I'm going to be um, uh, doing photography and selling the prints on ArtStation. So I'll have like a little store set up if people want to get a nice little framed nature picturesque thing for their home or what have you. So
Oh,
um,
cool. Well,
yeah,
everyone stay. You can look at all this stuff on Hiking Feanor's Twitter, Lost History 9.
at Lost
And
History 9, yes.
yeah, I was thinking it's weird. It's like we have literally Hiking Feanor who can tell us all about it.
Right.
But and for other Tolkien content, etc. And you
Hmm.
can find me here, Miss Martin Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. We're gonna be Catholic explaining Lent tomorrow with Magitech Mags, and I will be doing some other musings. I just need a few less than 200 watch hours now. So if y'all wouldn't mind maybe watching some content, maybe watching some of my playlists and helping me get over that hurdle. And then I promise you, I will quit bothering you. But just give me that, help me give me that little bit of a boost. It's been a long journey, but it's been loads of fun. So I think that's it. Oh yeah, and of course I'll be on Song of Spork of Ice and Fire on Mondays. We're going through Fire and Blood. And every now and then you might catch me on Nina Infinity's chill movie streams or TV show streams on Sunday evenings. So have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to reread The Fellowship of the Ring and get to know Boromir all over again.